Hello, welcome to Father's Ed. I'm Paul Rhodes. I'm here with my co-host and co-founder, Chris. And I don't know about where you are, Chris, but it is a lovely sunny day today. A good washing day, as my middle-aged self now says.
Yeah, it's a good washing day here as well, actually. There's lots of stuff out. Although it's the perpetual thing of trying to keep up with the amount of stuff that your kids generate, which you just don't really understand until you become a parent, and then you want to apologise to your own parents for just how much you must have made for them as well.
There's always so much, isn't there? Like when we came back off holiday, it was a really good washing, drying day then as well. And we got all of the holiday washing done in one day, which was amazing. And I thought, and we'd done everything else before we left. So I was like, there's literally, the wash basket is empty. There is nothing left to do. And somehow 2 days later, it was full again. And it's true. The moment you have kids, like it's just, laundry is never ending. And it's crazy.
For little people, they do make a lot of washing. But also, it's that one, isn't it, where, you kind of grow up almost thinking that washing is just put it in the washing machine or put it in the laundry basket. But it's not. It's that you dry, and then you always have the one about shouldn't I iron stuff, and then you got to put it away. So it's never just one task. It's about 5 different jobs on a perpetual cycle.
I wouldn't say I love ironing. Oh, I know. We since we were teenagers, you've always thought it's been weird that I iron everything.
No, it's I'll push back on that one. Coming from a military family, it's like, I understand the value of ironing. I just don't understand the value of ironing absolutely everything. So I often kind of make that joke when my mother-in-law who irons her sheets. It's just like, there are some things that just you don't need to iron.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff now as well
unnecessary.
is non-iron or non-crease. You just got to put it on the right setting. So I believe in ironing things where it adds value to it.
My wife,
if we go down that route,
yeah, my wife was taking the mick out of me the other day because for Christmas I'd asked for these new pajamas, but they were like proper like trouser ones, like in a button-up long sleeve shirt version. So, and they look like when they come out the wash and you've put them on the light, they're all creased up. They look horrendous. So the other day, put the kids to bed, went downstairs, I ironed these pajamas, and she was like, that's ridiculous. And then the next morning, when I woke up and got out of bed, she was like, Paul, they're just as bad as they were before you ironed them, and you're not going to iron them tonight, so what was the point? And she's right, but it felt good in the moment. Anyway, enough about ironing. I think this weekend is Father's Day. So have you got any plans?
Well, you cut me off there just before I went into a reminisce about the Corby trouser press of old, so that's probably wise. All I know is there's a surprise happening. I don't know what it is. My wife has pre-informed me that we are doing something. I just don't know what it is yet, so I'll update you next week.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. I say I don't know what we're doing. We have no plans. It is my mum's birthday today, so we're going round. So I suspect I will speak to her and my dad later and decide whether we're seeing them at all at any point and what my brother's plans are as well, and then come up with a plan then. The thing I would say about, not just about Father's Day, but my birthday as well, I love celebrating other people. I absolutely love it. Other people's birthdays, Christmas, Mother's Day, absolutely any opportunity to celebrate someone else. I will go big, absolutely brilliant. But myself, I'm just not fussed, and not for any like depressing reason or anything. I just, as long as I can spend time with my family, I don't really need to do anything. So yeah, we haven't got any plans, and if there are any, it'll probably just be everyone coming over here, and we'll probably just have something nice to eat and a glass of wine. And
Are you doing something for your dad then? Also, I kind of think it's a good time on here to do a completely unsponsored shout out one of the rock face ad was lovely on that one of just kind of encouraging people to just phone your dad on Father's Day
Oh, is
and
this
then make
what
a
you
habit
put
of
in
doing
the
it
group
afterwards.
chat?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I
I
loved
said,
it. It was,
oh,
my wife actually showed it one to me, and I dare anybody to watch it without feeling some kind of emotional response to it.
This is
It was
where I
just
have
genuinely
to.
lovely.
This is where I have to admit that I saw it, and I saw that Will, our web developer, had reacted to it, but I didn't actually click on the link, so I don't actually. This is the first I'm hearing about it, so I apologise for not having looked at what you sent.
Well, that just hurts. But no, do and respond on back. It's like I mentioned one on my LinkedIn one as well. But we've had no previous one with Rockfest. It was just a genuinely lovely post, a lovely video one, and it's a message one of just a lot of people get stuck in thinking that every major event has to be a gifting experience. And they don't realize actually there are a lot of different love languages, but also the biggest one is just that validation and that recognition of the role they play in your life. I'm unfortunate enough to have lost my parents prior to when I had my kids, so I don't get to share that one. And I was saying only that for those who are still able to, don't make the mistake of not doing it just because it seems inconvenient, in particular world of WhatsApp, where you can easily do a voice note on top of it, so it's not just a kind of semi-impersonal text. But then go the extra mile. I start to sound like an old man when I say that phones actually call people, and it's quite a novel feature. So it's like, do that or write a letter, do something personal.
I agree. So I will share next week what, if anything, we all did. I mean, we'll all be together. It's just where it's going to be, but we won't do anything necessarily special. But we'll all be together, which is what matters. So today's episode, our interview later is going to be with Andrew Carr, who's the founder of Babello. They make a bottle washer, dryer, sterilizer, something that wasn't around when I had my son. It actually might have. I don't think it was around when my daughter was born either at that point, although there might have been other similar products out there, but certainly not the Babello one. And so one of those examples of something that you didn't know existed and you didn't know that you needed until you got it. So I thought that today, in anticipation about hearing about Andrew's journey, about how he went about founding Babello and creating that great product, that it'd be good to talk about all of those products that you definitely do need, but also those you definitely don't need, because there are so many of those. And I think just because my wife is someone who doesn't like stuff and hates having things all around the house, like if people came into our house, like they'd be like, does anyone live here? Because she just doesn't like having piles of stuff around, so it can seem quite sparse in places. But so we didn't get a huge amount of stuff. But there are some things that I couldn't have lived without. So I thought it'd be good to have a bit of a chat about what some of those things are, and then the things that you absolutely don't need because they're just ridiculous. So, Chris, is there anything that springs to mind straight off the bat that you think, oh my God, you have to have that, or that you just found absolutely you wouldn't have been able to live without?
It's going to seem like it's part of the kind of partner work we do on with Nanit, but I actually do love my Nanit one. My youngest was born premature, and that ability, the kind of breathing band thing in there. So we were just so worried he was okay even when we got him home. It took over 3 weeks to get him home, and he was still slightly yellow when he did come back. So the ability to not interrupt his sleep but know he's doing okay. I'm very data driven, so it was nice having information like that I could tell to what I needed. That was incredibly useful. It's also a good one to at this time do a shout out to just the amount of things that I don't think people realize have been made by dads to help out other parents. So we met, we've mentioned it before. We met Nathan at the baby shower with the original dad bag, and good dad bag is definitely something you should get, but make sure it works for you, which, the one that he's spent years developing is a really, really good example of that. It's things like mental health ones. We've met Alex from Fatherhood Journal. You've tested that one. Things like that actually help you recall as well are a pretty good idea. Personally, journaling wasn't a thing for me. It never has been. But the amount of bits with talk therapy and ones I've done as well is it probably would have been not the worst idea to have something like that as a record I could reflect back on. There's so many. I mean, Nanit was actually set up by Dad's one. There's also Bubble, who do the childminding app, which becomes more useful when you get older. That was a guy called Ari Last who founded that. So, it's really amazing as you come to Father's Day, actually also just to, I'm not saying necessarily pick out and favour those that are being started up by dads. I don't want to go down that route. But just do a little bit of research into why they were set up and who did it and the story behind it, because there's some really amazing parent combos and people who have tried to fix a problem that they experienced. And then if that's one that you recognise, that's a pretty good, product area to consider. But my general answer was, if you're lucky enough to have bought a house, there's always a saying, I'm not that lucky. You are more lucky than me there, Paul. But they always go and say, don't buy anything major for the first 6 months because there's every single chance you do it. So we have discussions about things like buggy systems and ones. But I think, one thing I wish did exist when I had my eldest was the Babuda one where you can rent like the higher ticket items. That seems like a pretty good one. Actually, it's not a bad Father's Day gift if everyone's thinking about it.
That's a great idea, isn't it? So good, the idea that you can just like hire and rent stuff rather than having to pay the full purchase price.
I mean, you'll drop like $1,000 on a buggy system as well. And
oh yeah, we bought a Silver Cross Premier, I think it was, and the total cost of that was around £1,000. I mean, we actually ended up getting it for about 500 because John Lewis were doing a promotion and we got an absolute ton of John Lewis vouchers when we got married. So because my son was then born like within the year after we got married, they were still valid. So we used them, a lot of them on that. So it ended up costing a lot less for us. But you're right, they are so expensive. A lot of these big ticket items are just so much money that you just wonder, like, I mean, we're very lucky with, our jobs and that, and we're in, touch wood, stable, secure, financially secure. So, but yeah, the money is just insane. You can literally spend thousands and thousands and thousands on stuff that
or even worse, you end up with a wish list that, if you're lucky enough to be supported by people who then do help take some of that initial financial burden off your shoulders, you never want to be in a position where you've got a big ticket item like that and then you don't like it. And so it's like, the guilt of that is terrible when that occurs. But I have to admit, the ones I really, really don't like are things like, the false safety ones. It's like cop bumpers are actually dangerous. The ones that you have inside something on the side. I have no idea why they are still allowed to exist because they're genuinely dangerous. But then you get things like baby proofing ones. I always warn people one with is, the safe room, there is a logic one to them, but like for example, you'll see ones with plug ones. Don't do it. There's a really good witch informational video there. They have some great stuff on this. Advise anyone to go look at their reviews.
I love witch videos. Oh my god, they're so good. I know this is off on a tangent, but I saw one about dishwashers the other day, and it's completely changed how I use my dishwasher. It was amazing. I had no idea that there were sensors in there that could like tell how, how soiled. That's probably the wrong word that we're thinking about babies at the moment. But like how like dirty your plates are, and then changes essentially the cycle learns kind of like what you're doing. So actually, if you pre-rinse everything to start with, the sensors then think it doesn't need to use as much power or work as hard. So then later down the line, if you start then putting stuff in unrinsed, it's not going to work as well. So, but anyway, I go on a tangent.
Talking of sort that, I do wish I'd been brave enough to give reusable nappies a proper go.
Oh, me too.
Um,
Me too. And
Even if just
actually,
overnight was always the idea I wanted to do because it's not as big an issue one overnight because you got like the replaceable liners or wash ones and you can deal with them when you're actually more awake the next day. But just the amount of rubbish that generated, I have reflected on more as I've got older.
yeah, and I think that I tend to think now that we try to be as do as much as we can environmentally. I think at the time when we were getting nappies in those early days, it just it I mean, it obviously is so much easier to just get disposable ones, and it's easy to know, it's easy to say now after the fact that, "Oh, I wish I'd done it." I kinda wish I do. Mark did it, with my niece, and, he stuck with it the whole time. I wouldn't I d he wouldn't say that it was always, uh, the nicest thing, but, he stuck with it the whole time, so, kudos to him.
That
Um
would be your brother, just in case anyone hadn't picked
Yes,
up the
yeah, Mark,
reference
my
there.
brother. Yeah, he stuck with it. I think the thing about those as well is that it's there's kind of like when we were looking at disposable and then reusable, we also found I can't remember what the brand's called now, but what I do know is it was founded by Emma Bunton, who was Baby Spice in
It's
the
got to
Spice
be
Girls.
Kitten Kiln, I'm thinking.
I think so. Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. And actually, they looked fantastic, and it was kind of like a I think the whole point of it was either I think it was disposable, but it was like
They were supposed to be
biodegradable.
like, yeah, we tried those. They were
And
terrible. I don't know if you had the same
oh
issue.
no, we didn't actually try them, but I really like the idea of it. But when I actually looked at the cost as well, the cost was actually for those was astronomical. So we didn't go down that route. But yeah, I do kind of wish I'd done it also because what are they called? In my day job, I'd gone and done some work around financial well-being with a reusable nappy brand, and when I was there and talking to them all about it, I really liked the idea of it. And actually, that was before I had my daughter. So I don't know why I didn't then just try it because they had really cool designs and it was good. But yeah, in terms of what I think was I couldn't have lived without. My Tommy Tippy prep machine. Um, so much so that when my daughter was born, we went from having one of them to having two of them uh, because I love them so much. So we had one in the kitchen and then one on my bedside table. And I still know people who, and again, it's not a criticism. We all parent differently. Our patience for things is all different. But I still know people who don't have, whether it's Tommy Tippy one, whether it's another brand, whatever, who still do things manually and then have to wait for it to cool down. And I just think it's so easy to like put the formula in the bottle,
I
hit a button, and then it's
Yeah, I
ready
have
for
to admit
you.
I love that as well. Did you ever try the portable one? Because I mean, like bits of my advice one generally would be that the ones that I've always fallen foul of is where the novelty and the gimmick seemed like a good idea and just wasn't. Because you know, one of the bits I'd say is don't try and take like that shortcut of thinking that this novelty is going to fix everything. Sometimes classics are classics for a reason. But like the safety ones that are kind of a false sense of security and safety, I say I don't like those. But I think that's more kind of a moral issue than it is a functional one per se. Although it's that as well, I suppose. The ones that are novelty, so like actually being fair, so I said I'd promote lots of dab ones, but I really wanted the Nano Baby bottle to be good. Um,
What was
it's the
that?
one that so you can stack it, so it's supposed to kind of mimic the shape of a breast one as well, and the functionality and be really close. It also allows you to stack them, so it's got really good stacking. As a storage system for because my wife was expressing, and as a storage system, it was great. As an actual one that was a bottle, so bad. I just because its shape made it difficult to hold, and if your kid got hold of it, they'd be able to get out because there's so much of it to do. So it's like it sounded good. It just wasn't as practical as I was hoping. On stuff to definitely buy though, on benefits of partners is, um, if you are looking at doing breastfeeding, if you are looking at doing expressing, the mobile breast pumps. My wife absolutely, almost said mum then. My wife absolutely swore by those of just being able not to be sat attached to the cord into a plug socket. That she really did find useful, so I highly recommend those. Although again, they're a pricey thing, a lot of them. So, these are nice to haves in a lot of case, but sometimes you're just very lucky being able to get them. But there are some very affordable versions. But it comes out a
Yeah.
bit to plan is if you're gonna have if you look at more than one child, then you can split the cost across them.
Did you have a Moses basket? We didn't.
No, well, we were thinking one of it, but actually, it was lovely. My father-in-law built this crib, little rocking crib, for his first grandchild, and it's been passed down through all of them. So it's been, it's very well made, single piece of wood job. He's done an amazing bit. So we had that, and like the Moses baskets, our boys. By the time we got my youngest home, my eldest was born big anyway. Yeah, we were like, got about a centimetre of room left. We did do the Docker top though. Did you ever do that? I think they've
No.
renamed it now, but
No,
that was quite a useful thing.
we had like a bedside crib both times.
The next to me.
I can't remember. They were different. We had different brands each time. The one that we had for my son kind of rocked from side to side. The one that we had with my daughter it kind of attached. You kind of clipped it around your mattress, so it stayed there, and you could take the side down if you wanted and everything, and it kind of like would tip up as well if you needed it to, which was quite good. But yeah, we just did that and then went straight to a cot. We never had Moses baskets or anything like that. One thing I absolutely loved, and I know there's all like different side ones and everything now. Honestly, my Instagram suggested posts are all like these new kind of carriers, but our baby carrier I absolutely loved. It was absolutely amazing. The only thing I'm going to say is that I'm not going to name the brand because actually we approached this brand, and I'm not saying that every brand should want to work with us specifically, but this brand that is very well known said that they didn't think that Dad's was a good enough angle for doing baby and parent stuff. So they don't want to work with dads. So apparently, dads aren't important. They're just going to put all the burden on mums again. So I won't say who it was, but I do like their products. I do. I just don't like their attitude that dads aren't valid parents.
And do you remember Vern, who's the baby wearing expert that we met at a baby show, who actually the amount of stuff that he said was quite interesting. Baby carrier one, absolutely brilliant thing. Do test if you can tie them up, because you get I always wanted to be able to do what looks like a really big scarf, and you do the sling. Yeah, could never get that to work. I could never get to tie.
I remember when my son was this was in the pandemic, and my son was like, I don't know, like 6 weeks old or something. And I remember he was just crying. You called me and we were talking on the phone, and actually I put him in the sling, and I remember walking around my garden talking to you with him in the sling, and that motion of just him being in the sling, being really close, that motion just sending him straight to sleep. The slings were amazing. I mean,
great for bonding as well. So it is one of those ones where you can get the skin to skin contact. You can be bonding. You can say taking for a walk, give your partner a break and a nap maybe if necessary as well. I think we kind of both agree is the stuff that's really, really useful is the stuff that helps give your partner a break and lets you bond. And if you can do both those things at the same time, magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do have proper guidance and more coherent advice and stuff on what we think we would recommend and not recommend for the early...
Exactly. And actually, we're undergoing a bit of a website refresh at the moment, which we're hoping to launch the whole thing, relaunch it, I should say, by the end of the summer. So end of August, start of September. And certainly then there will be lots of information on recommended products, things you do need, things you don't need. I would suggest that the Babello is something that you probably don't think you need, but you probably do. So let's get into that conversation now. It's a really really great conversation. Andrew is he's a dad himself. He's really passionate about his product, and he's got some really interesting and what sounds to me like I'm really ambitious early thoughts about what he might do next. So it's a really great interview. You can go and check out our review of the Babello washer on our website and check it out on our Instagram as well. But without further ado, here is Andrew.
Yeah, so I think my journey with parenthood, the one that our culture in the UK prepared us for is probably quite different to the reality of my life today. So, the optics growing up were that like my dad worked all of the time, didn't really see too much of him. When we were kids, myself and my two sisters, same with his dad, my grandfather, same on my mom's side. Mum worked for a bit, and then I think once we had two kids, she stopped working and became a housewife. So I guess I kind of thought that's the life that I would end up having, but the reality is really quite different. I would say we've only got one child at the moment, so things are quite easy. That's the caveat, but we do things 100% equally. And my partner works pretty full bore, full time job. I'm doing a startup, so life's quite busy. And it's a constant juggle trying to manage, childcare and look after our kid and have a nice time with our kid.
And how old's your child?
He is 2.5. So we're actually in a little lull right now.
In between the kind of in between the
get
terrible
your
twos
brain
and the
works
three
because you're
nature.
sleeping. So that's quite nice. We also, what I should mention as well is I managed to get 6 months off.
And was that
Take
from
maternity leave.
was that from a previous job then?
It was, yeah. So last employer was a company called Elvie. So it's a female-founded business trying to create empowering technology for women. And just very much realise and acknowledge that to have a healthy household, like dads should have more than the kind of standard 2 weeks off, so we could be around. Their policy was 6 weeks paid, which is just incredible. But there was a guy I worked with there who he worked at Dyson, and he very much, wrote his own rules in life. And he was just like, if you can do it, take 6 months off. You'll never regret it. So I sort of went with a bit of a brass neck and negotiated that 6 months off. So most of it was unpaid, just to see what it was like. I was committed to this idea of being supportive dads and going on that journey. And over the course of a lifetime, taking 6 months off work is the blink of an eye. So it's not really going to affect you too much. So yeah, went and did that. We went a little bit crazy as well. We got a camper and took our son from Edinburgh down to Sicily over 4 months.
Amazing. What an experience.
It's pretty wild. I've got this incredible photo book memories from that. But I remember the first month of that trip, probably not the following 3 because there was something deprived.
What a unique introduction to parenting, going on a road trip to Sicily for months.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I mean, it's just like when we were kids, like, growing up, like a small town in Scotland, you're just, you didn't think as a new dad you're going to be in a camper south of Italy. You very much thought you were going to be back at work. Mum would be looking after the kids. Yeah, so it was quite a different world.
Do you think that has maybe changed your perception? Obviously, you've done it, but I mean, my experience of having my son was at the start of the pandemic. So actually, we couldn't do anything, we couldn't see anyone. And although our daughter was born 3.5 years later, when everything was back open again and everything was back to normal, I wonder if we certainly tried to make up for it, but I wonder whether some of the decisions we made were kind of coloured by what we thought was possible that first time round. Presumably, having done that, if you ended up having another child, you've gone so far away from the norm that actually, have you got this kind of mindset of anything is possible, nothing's too scary, we can just do it?
No, I think I've had that first kind of naivety of, you've lived your whole life without kids, so you just think, yeah, kids going to be an addiction. It's not going to change my life. So child definitely does change your life. And we did find like that trip was fantastic. And when you've got one child and they're very young, so I think we left when he was about just after his vaccination, so it must have been like 2.5, 3 months or something like that. And they're basically just like a little grip. They don't they can't even roll away from you at that phase. So you carry them around carriers. You can go and do sightseeing in like a nice town in Italy, and you would be walking around where you live in the UK doing exactly the same thing. But here we're just doing it in Italy, so that's fantastic. I think with two, it's a different game because you've got one kid that's now chatting, has a very set routine, needs to be in bed by such and such a time. So like then having like a 3 or 4 month baby plus a toddler, I just don't know how you could do that. And this guy that I used to work with as well did try to do it, but they came home after like 2 weeks. If you're going to do that, my gut feeling was like you can do it with one, and the first one possibly, but with two, it's too spinning plates at that point. I'm sure there's people that do it, make it look really easy and an amazing Instagram.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things we talked about with a previous guest was actually also about how Instagram is very curated, isn't it? Like it's the best of our lives. I don't think it really necessarily shows all
Yeah.
the challenging times. Having been away then from work for 6 months, how was it getting back into it afterwards? Because I took 5 weeks off after my daughter was born. And even after that amount of time, which was absolutely amazing, I loved it. I would have liked to have been able to take more. But even after 5 weeks, it felt a bit weird going back into work. And I almost had this idea. I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, I felt really disconnected even after just 5 weeks. So how did it feel going back into work after 6 months? And I know this is something that women go on maternity leave all the time. This is not new to them, but the idea of taking 6 months off is something that most of us would love to be able to do. So how did it feel going back into work?
So, super interesting question. I'm going to answer it slightly differently though. So, I remember thinking, right, if I got 6 months off, this is a pretty unusual experience for a guy. So, I remember thinking along that journey, like the two week mark, I remember thinking, like, could I go back to work at this stage? And our son slept really, really bad. Like, you get these kids that pop out and like sleep for 8 hours and stuff. You hear about those, like our son was definitely not that. And he'd only sleep on us as well. And I remember thinking after 2 weeks, like, could I go back to work at this point? And my mind was absolutely scrambled. I remember thinking, this is the absolute earliest I could consider functioning as a human being. I was just so tired, and I sort of thought I could, but I remember thinking this is crazy to be going back so early, especially if you're like doing a lot of the kind of parenting support work, which I was. I remember sort of thinking about a month. It's like it's broadly feasible, but I remember thinking this is like probably unhealthy from a family point of view to be going back after a month. Just from a point of view of being like a helpful partner, because there's so much work to do. And then after 6 months, you're kind of like this. The ship is kind of just about stabilized. You're kind of like learning how to look after this new little being, and you're kind of beginning to form sort of routines of how you get through the day. But then your question about like how did it actually feel going back to work? I didn't. I left to do a startup. So
So that's the point you
yeah,
left then.
yeah, exactly. So I left at the end of the kind of like paternity leave. So I kind of jumped into startup land with this product idea that I kind of always, well, in a sense that I kind of wanted to do, and the parenthood piece really cemented that. So I don't know, because like my life just turned to like working in the kind of like the box room, if you like. So I wasn't going in to like interact with the people that I'd been working with before.
Yeah.
So truth is, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that startup you mentioned is Babello. We started talking, I think, 4 or 5 months ago when you were just launching the washer. So my math isn't very good, but that's quite a short turnaround time, isn't it? From actually going from the stage where you've finished those 6 months off,
Yeah.
you've decided to leave that job, create this product, and actually get to a point where you're ready to launch it. That seems like
Yeah,
quite a
I
quick
mean,
turnaround.
it was about 2 years. My background is in product development,
Yeah.
so I kind of know what I'm doing in that sense. But yeah, 2 years from sort of going through the like figuring out, is this a problem that a lot of people suffer from, doing the research, doing the business model, and then actually getting the product developed. Yeah, 2 years would sort of be
Yeah.
normal if you know what strings to pull.
So the Babello washer is a baby bottle washer, dryer, sterilizer, all in one. It's an absolutely amazing bit of kit. I've given it a go and wish that it was around really when mine were little and still needed bottles. It's amazing. Where did the idea come from? Was it simply thinking, surely there must be an easier way to do this? You know, parents are spending Lord knows how much time washing these bottles. There's lots of water consumption. What was the initial kind of genesis of the idea?
There's probably kind of three things that kind of cemented that I should go and do this. The first one is that I worked at this company called Elvie, who make Elvie pump. And I was involved in that project, so that was like the world's first silent wavable breast pump. And after the product had launched, we we were doing like research and kind of like discovering how people really use this type of product because it never existed before. So the thing that we kind of saw there, just we weren't looking for it, but sort of like if you pump milk and you bottle feed and you use formula, there's just so much washing up to do. Like everybody knows about the sterilization piece, and that's what everybody focuses on. But before things go into sterilizer, you've got to spend like it's kind of like 20 minutes just like scrubbing away these things before you pop them in the sterilizer, and then it takes an eternity for the things to dry once you've taken them out of the sterilizer. And it was just like this was creating a lot of like mental load. It would like take an hour every day because you have to do so many cycles of it. And people were struggling with it. That's what we saw. You think you can empathize as a designer, but I didn't really truly empathize until I went through it myself, which sounds really selfish. But our experience with Lewis, like washing those bottles. And at the time, it's like this is kind of me. You're just like, why is this the way we do things? It's sort of a classic inventor thing of just like this is horrendous. Why is this the way we're doing it? We can do it better.
Yeah. And also at that time, I mean, you're so tired, you're so sleep deprived. Actually, if you do have however long your baby's going to nap for, if you're spending that time doing more chores, which, you know, the vast majority of us
Yeah.
probably are doing, you're not actually getting that time to just sit down and take a break yourself, are you?
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely amazing. One of the things that really struck me was how quiet it was.
Mhm.
I don't know what I expected, but you just think, you know, when you get there's some great products out there, you know, and in terms of, you know, making the bottles, like the Tommy Tippy prep machine, I absolutely love. They have got a quiet one,
Mhm.
which actually once I'd got that, in the middle of the night accidentally poured water all over it, so it fused out and I broke it. So I had to use
Yeah.
the loud one again. But it's really, really quiet for something that's actually working away there and doing a lot of hard work. It's really
It's just those little details, isn't it? I mean, it's like you're going to be using this thing at night time.
Mm.
Kitchens are small. Sometimes kitchens don't have doors in them, so
Mm.
like yeah, you're aware that like
Yeah.
noise is not going to help when you've got a newborn. Um, like so many like products and devices that you get have got these kind of like little beeps and things like that to alert you to the fact that it's finished. And it's
Yeah.
just like you can't do that. Yeah, it's like almost the most important thing when you're a new parent is like sleep and get as much of it as you possibly can.
And can you talk to me about the environmental credentials and how important was that from the outset when you were thinking about the design?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting story. So we started a sustainability team back when I was at LV as well, and it's just this hidden thing really is that when you're washing baby bottles, like you've constantly got the tap on. That's how people do it. The tap water is heated to like 40 degrees, and like 98% of UK households, water is heated by burning gas.
Mhm.
So the carbon emissions are really high. You've got the tap all day. It's like gas burning away for an hour, filling equivalent of like a bathtub of water a day. And then you're bottle feeding your child for the best part of a year. So bathtub full of water every day for a year is just an incredible amount of water, number one, which is very expensive if you're paying for metered water. And then number two, it's just like burning gas all that time. We kind of figured out that for the pumping industry, if you like, and for the bottle feeding industry, like 96% of the carbon footprint of that whole industry, which is like worth $15 billion, is from burning gas to heat water to clean these things. So everybody hates hand washing, like scrubbing away the bottle brushes, you get painful hands from that. Just the time that you waste doing that task. If you can do something that replaces the need for you to do that, plus it can disrupt this burning of the gas piece. Like, could you create this magic box that sits in your counter, that washes, sterilizes, dries these things, and is significantly better for the planet? Feels like a thing that people would be interested in. So with those kind of 2 points, Truth, if you like, decided, yeah, I need to go and try and make this product a reality.
It's amazing to have something that does all in one, and also isn't that bulky either. And it looks good. So that's one of my wise considerations. If we're ever going to get like appliances, is does it look good in my kitchen and does it not stand out? And if it stands out, actually, it stands out because it's very aesthetically pleasing. So that's a massive plus, because you don't want something hanging around in your kitchen.
Yeah.
It's an eyesore.
I always, so I mean, size-wise, it's basically the same size as a normal steam sterilizer. It's kind of designed to replace that. So make it that rough size, so that's where it lives in your kitchen, because you're going to have that sort of sterilizer anyway. We tried to kind of build in a bit of theatre to it as well. So I've always been surprised that you can't see inside these dishwashers because you've got all this water splashing around, etc. There's a bit of a show there. So
Yeah.
we've got this clear window on top of it. So when it turns on, it's like suck the water in. That moment when it starts, you just see all this water like firing around in the top.
Yeah.
So it's like visually kind of interesting in your kitchen as well.
Our review of it's going to be up on, by the time this goes out, it's going to be up on the website. But I've got to admit, I set up the camera to record it, but then I just stood there myself, like watching it, probably for longer than I should admit. But I was like, this is a show.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if you're as geeky as me as well, like I kind of do the slow motion, like video recording of it, and it kind of like whooshes around in there.
Yeah, it's really.
I don't think anybody else is doing that. It's just me.
Yeah, well, anyone who's listening to it should go to fathercraft.co.uk. The review will be up on the website by the time you are listening to this. That is your first product with Fabello. Are there any plans for further products in the line, or obviously you're still fairly new, so is it just focusing on the washer at the moment?
Yeah, so what the company really exists to do is, having worked in the parenthood space now for the best part of a decade, you kind of really learn and realize that the products that exist, they're designed to really last a very short amount of time. You know what it's like when you buy a thing, you need it for 6 months really intensively, and then as soon as you don't need it anymore, you just want it out of your life. Company is designed for that really short lifespan, so like the quality is quite low. So we think there's an opportunity. We just think parenthood products should be designed to be more robust, to last for longer. If you can do that, you should be able to create a better product experience for parents. So we want to build out a full suite of the things that you need as a new parent that are going to save you time, make your life easier, because time pressures are worse than they've ever been. We think we can create better product experiences as a result of doing that. We think that we're in a climate crisis at the moment, and everybody seems to be ignoring it from a government perspective. It's just a responsibility to design products better, design them for like longer use, make them repairable. So that's what we want to try and do. Amazing products that make your life easier, designed with the planet in mind. So we want to build out a full suite of products. We'll probably start off in the feeding space, and then I would love for us in a few years' time to have figured out a solution to disposable nappies. There's some stat like it's like 600,000 nappies go to landfill every second. All nappies are really made out of plastic as well, because they're full of poop. You can't recycle them, so we need to figure out a solution there.
I know that when we were looking, before our first was born, we were looking at different kind of supposedly environmentally friendly ones, but the ones that are supposedly the best, I mean, they're so expensive as well. So trying to figure that out, perhaps at a more parent-friendly cost point as well, would be really good for our finances, but yeah, more importantly, good for the environment as well.
I think like the reusable nappy thing is interesting, but you've still got the cleaning problem. You need a huge amount of water to clean reusable nappies, and it's really user friendly. So, maybe there's something there as well that we can improve on.
I mean, if you could figure that space out, that would be quite something.
Haven't a clue how to do it at this point, but yeah, with a few years knocking the head against the wall, I'm sure we'll figure it out.
When you revolutionise the nappy market.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's fantastic. We'll put a link to the Babello in the show notes. You can read the review on our website. Andrew, Carl, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Lovely chatting to you.
And that's our show for today. Father Zed is produced by Gemma Lothian, Chris Marchant and Paul Rhodes. It's edited by Paul Rhodes. Our music is by Christos Politis. You can find information, guidance and support on our website, fathercraft.co.uk. That's also where you can sign up to our Father Zed platform, read our blog and find product reviews. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a 5-star rating so other dads can find us. It really does help. Thanks for listening.